Hello, good morning and welcome to the AM News with me, Mapito Subidi. And in our first story, 3 children are missing after a tanker explosion swept through a town in the Ahafo-Ano southeast in Ashanti region. 3 others, including a year-and-a-half toddler who was sleeping at the time of the incident, have died. The fire, which swept through the community, destroyed 7 homes. Nanaya Ojima has more in the following reports.
Kwame Asare, who was drying his cocoa at the time of the incident, was nearly killed by the tanker. According to him, the diesel tanker lost balance while speeding and drove into a parked Ford Transit van before it caught fire. The tanker driver lost control and drove into the van. The tanker skidded into the village. The fire started immediately. Seth Edu, who is recovering from a stroke, is the father of the toddler who was killed in the incident. He was outside his home as the toddler slept at the time of the incident. But for his condition, he could have saved his son.
The
whole of the left part of my body is numb. I can't carry the child. It was between saving myself and perishing with him. Later, someone offered to carry me on his back to take me to safety. The fire service intervened to control the spread of the inferno. ADO1, Wikana Badomi, led the fire team.
So quickly what we did was to try to check the spread, protect the other building, preventing the fire from, affecting the other structures that were, nearby. So that was the strategy we used. So when we were able to successfully contain or control the spread, then we came back to the container, to the tanker, and then put out the fire.
At the time of the incident, many were out on their farms. Children who were home ran into bushes and other communities for safety. At the time of filing this report, 3 children remained missing. Residents are disturbed.
The
They went separate ways, so we have to move in all directions to find them. Meanwhile, the National Disaster Management Organization has been to the scene assessing the damage. Together with the District Assembly, some arrangements were made for the affected persons to pass the night. Eric Nanajiman Prempe is Director General of NADMO.
We don't have hostels and hotels here. So we're looking at classrooms and the church buildings. The assembly, the DC is here. He's going back to the district capital to arrange for some mosquito nets and some blankets for them. I have called NADMO headquarters. They are also arranging to get some mattresses and other things. By tomorrow morning, they will also be here. We are doing the little we can to help the people who are homeless. In fact, apart from the Cheese Palace and few places, almost everybody has been rendered homeless now.
For JoyNews, Nanaya Ojima reporting.
Now, communities within the catchment of Extra Gold Mining Limited in the Atiwa West District have been reeling under the impact of the mining firm's operation. Residents say a number of people have died after falling into uncovered mining pits left behind by some subcontractors. 3 of such deaths have been recorded in the past 1 year at Achim Apam Patia. Now, several water bodies in the area have also been destroyed. Oimintera travelled to Atiwa and has filed this report.
Extra Gold Mining have been present in the Atiwa West District since 2006. It owns 5 mining leases, including the Banso and Pamin concessions. The company employed the services of subcontractors to mine in these concessions at Pamin, Apampetia, among others, on contracts. Residents accuse these subcontractors of degrading lands and destroying water bodies. The Operation Hot military task force has struck twice in 1 week on one of the mining sites at Pamin. This is one of the mining sites of MPP's women organizer, Kate Chemfua, situated at Achimpami in the eastern region.
In the last 1 week, this particular site has been raided twice by members of the Operation Hot Task Force. 7 excavators and 2 bulldozers have all been burnt down here. Behind me are some of them. This site, which can be compared to the size of about 200 football pitches, has had green vegetation totally destroyed and removed by mining activities. We are told this is just one of the mining concessions of Madam Katie Jemfua, which means there are several of these which we are yet to visit.
Akwadro, Abresu, Teria, Aprabon, Akubonsu and Esioya and Minimpon streams all have been destroyed in Achim Apampetia, Arinare and Achim Akropon. Others are Pamin and Banso. Residents say activities of the mining firm have impacted negatively on their lives as their immediate environment and water bodies are destroyed.
Minus nibi etutu amna nkata so nom ne ayino even ha no mensu metumi aka se ba bi wo kwa na nkata so no nhyɛ de nkoyie aban hyehyɛ ne se mo bi anko forest eno nko ade mebo minus na ba so ses cavita pesi etiwa forest mu opa me ha de me hu bi ana insusem no so even so mbe adwuma kra on divert sene ekiafo no so ebinum one day one engage with farming no umutimi enya biye na ja adwuma de senior tie no ubenya baby frenching baby won so na achia kakra.
Some of them have fallen into deep mining pits left uncovered by these miners. In Pamin, for instance, at least 3 of such deaths have been recorded since 2007. Similar cases have been recorded at Apampetia, with 25-year-old Nicholas Bokom, also known as Shatawali, being the last victim.
Esagodo amana wotu nyine gu ho godin de na amana no kata so na ekọ ye ne bansfo no kata so so godin de wayade wase adua no ewum na panta de wanye hwene mu ade ne nyine egina Esagodo so oji 22%. Ti won wa ye adwuma nipa be sese o ye adwuma e bia no oji percentage ti be kata so man no wankata so no Henry kwabrochire mi amego fase e ko tin ko tobi no tonsu mu amfichira ya oba obetwe skama Mrs. no eba no panta ne Esagodo betwe 250 man besine amana no wankata so ti Esagodo de ye mpon krom abiu papa bi be metenten ba miensa na okuani kofo na na medi wonche okotomo ongu enipa 3 me ho fase no ana brother baako. The
unresolved deaths and destruction to the environment has compelled the youth of Apampetia to come together to fight for the community. About 100 members of the concerned youth of Apampetia say they will resist any attempt by Extra Gold to mine in the area again. Albert Ofosu speaks for the group.
Our river bodies and our cocoa farms are all in danger due to the lack of inadequate quality work they are doing here. Though we are not safe due to the tactics the miners play when it comes to this fight. We are more than 100 and we are prepared to fight this fight because it is our last forest and in this country. That is the Tiwa forest. So we will protect the forest. We will not allow them to enter into our forest.
Meanwhile, officials of Extra Gold Mining have declined comments. Director Victor Nkansa, in a text message, said the company will not do interviews, but rather lawyers would state position in addition to initial press release. From Etiwa in the Eastern Region for JoyNews, Ohim Interior reporting.
Now in the Upper West region, chiefs and people of 3 Sisila districts are fuming with rage over the exclusion from the €35 million farm access road project in that region. 8 out of 11 municipalities and districts are to benefit from the 670-kilometer project. Roads and Highways Minister Kwesi Amwako-Atta last week broke the grounds for the projects to start. The residents want their roads included in the project. Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from Tumu.
Data obtained from the Upper West Region's Department of the Food and Agriculture shows clearly that the triplet Sisala districts and municipality are the leading producers of maize and other staple foods in the Upper West Region, and by extension the country at large. They collectively produce a total of 103,474.42 metric tons of maize in 2019 farming season alone. Despite the huge success achieved in producing high-volume staple food, especially maize in the region, the enclave has the poorest, or better still, the worst feeder farm access road network in the region. Residents of the Sisala East, Sisala West, and Wa East are at a loss as to how come they were excluded from the 670.2 kilometers length of farm access road project.
This is not a political vendetta. We are craving for our fair share of the proverbial national cake.
Minister for Roads and Highways, Kwesi Amankwata, last Tuesday broke the ground for work to begin on the 35 million euro funded projects. The project is aimed at improving interconnectivity between areas of production of agricultural crops and market centers in the region. 8 out of the 11 municipalities and districts in the region will benefit from the project. Chiefs, smallholder farmers, members of the Sisala Youth Forum, and politicians from all sides of the political divide vent their anger on the decision to exclude what they call the breadbasket of the region, stating that it is unfair and unequitable, knowing too well the poor infrastructure situation of the district. Paramount Chief of the Zenith Traditional Area, Kura Abu Diek Abu Kebeninia V, addressed the press conference.
The criteria for selecting the beneficiary districts clearly is not born out of adequate evaluation of proper data that looks at production levels and the severity of need for feeder routes. We indicate here, therefore, that the personal bias of the selection committee that resulted in the total exclusion of Wa East, Sisala West, and Sisala East districts, which are the leading producers of food crops in the region, is so unfair and insensitive to the plight of the farming communities.
The chiefs and the smallholder farmers made the following demands.
We hereby demand, on the principle of transparency and accountability, that the Ministry of Roads and Highways should publish the selection criteria that formed the basis for the inclusion or exclusion of beneficiary districts under the EU-funded 670 kilometers farm access roads project. 2, we further demand that in the spirit of fairness, social justice and non-discrimination, which are cardinal principles in the Ghanaian constitution and values shared by the EU, a reprioritization and selection of the farm access rules be done based on production levels and severity of need. Alternatively, ladies and gentlemen, we further demand that the Ministry of Roads and Highways should immediately find additional resources to create, rehabilitate, and maintain the abandoned farm access roads in the four aforementioned excluded farming districts.
And in the National Science and Maths quiz, breakthrough at last from the lads from SDA SHS Agona as they finally qualified to make their debut appearance at the competition. They beat Islamic SHS, Kumase Christ the King SHS, and Obwase and Akroform SHS to seal a spot after years of failed campaigns at advancing beyond the regional qualifiers. The contestants are promising an amazing performance when they get to Accra. Manor Quanting has more.
High school. See, this is the first time we've qualified. You know, last year we had 41 points, or 82 had 44 points. Okay. and we did not make it to Accra. It was very painful. We decided that this year, by hook or crook, whatever happens, with God on our side, we are supposed to qualify.
And you have qualified?
Yes,
but the first time you are going to the national tournament.
Our first time, and we are not going to relax. In fact, we are not going to relax. With God on our side, we are going to continue the hard work, and we are hoping something good will come out of it.
I see a lot of excitement on the face of you are old students. Okay, well, how do you feel?
Oh, I feel great. I'm so excited. Yeah, I feel marvelous, man.
Tell me, where are you coming from all the way to support?
I came from Western Region.
I see.
Support them, yeah. From
where exactly in the Western Region?
Winnie Valley.
Winnie Valley, Prestia.
Yes.
All the way to come and support.
200 cities, 200 cities.
Well, so you spent 200 cities to come and support them. Well, let me talk to the contestants themselves.
I'm very happy this moment. And my name is Nana Koko Semafo. I'm an Agausa, and I with my friend John Watson. We came to help the team over the last 2 months, and as a result,
contestants from last year's tournament, you couldn't qualify, but you didn't give up. You came all the way back to the school to assist them to train.
Because we love the school, so that's why we came.
Are you going to continue helping them to train?
Yes, I'm gonna continue helping them to. We will get to where we want to get.
Really? So what should we expect from you in the national tournament? What should we expect from you in the national tournament?
Expect a breakthrough performance, and very drastic one, of course, because by the grace of God we will prove that.
It's the first time going. There are relatively bigger schools with bigger pedigrees in terms of their competition. I mean, the Ashanti region, Prempeh College, for instance, has won 4 times. Owas has 2 times. This is your first time going. What extraordinary thing can you do?
It's the students that make up the school, not the buildings of the school. So we, the students, are going to prove ourselves right.
Definitely. Thank you very much. These are the guys from SDA Senior High School in Agona. And they say they are here to put up a breakthrough performance in this year's tournament. They have picked up the 6th slot of 20 for the Ashanti region. But for now, well, it's jolly time for them. Bring you more updates as and when we get them here.
And that's how we end the AM News with me, Peter Sibiri. For more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. The AM show continues.
Oh, if you're just joining us, well, a very good morning. Welcome to the AM show. You missed the news, which was brought to us by Mapito Sibidi. But we've got plenty of other stories to share by way of what the newspapers are reporting this day. Today is also the day that our MPs go back to Parliament. I'll do the Daily Graphic, the Daily Dispatch, and the Daily Guide newspaper.
From my end, I'll do the Ghanaian Times, the Finder newspaper, the Daily Statesman, and the Business and Financial Times.
I'd like to start with the Daily Guide newspaper this morning. On the front page, CS drama at Galamsey trial tells the story. Remember, the over 30 persons were arrested. They posed as national security persons, and at night they went to a Galamsey site to look for gold. Well, they've been in court twice now, and it says relatives thought that they would be allowed to go at the last court hearing, but they have been made to stay in police custody a while longer. The story is in the Daily Guide newspaper this morning. Prisoners go wild over poor food. And this is an exciting story for me. So when I come back, I would give you the breakdown, what happened in the secondary prison, you know, what the prisoners decided to do because they were not happy. Exactly. And I like that. I like that even people in prison are fighting for their rights, which is really good.
They are human. We can't, I mean, of course, some rights are denied them, but it doesn't mean we can treat them in any way just because they are prisoners.
Absolutely. Nana wants Ghana on UN Security Council. Also another story in the paper today, still on the front page. World meets in Ghana. Forum bounces back 2022. The Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital mother-baby unit goes down. We talked about this some time back, the fact that they're pulling the entire structure down. On the back page, Kotoko coach flies out to Portugal. Aguero has a problem with Pep, apparently. Olympics get Royal Loop support. Ronaldo first to conquer Serie A, EPL, and La Liga. Details of some of the stories when we get to that point, including, is Kwabena gay or not? What is he saying? And why do some people think that he is gay? That's it for the Daily Guide newspaper.
Kwabena. Well, he was around here yesterday, and a whole lot of talk about him, his music, and that bit you just mentioned. Anyway, let's get into the Ghanaian Times newspaper. The banner headline, Ghana to produce COVID-19 vaccines. It's actually a question. Since yesterday, we've been talking about this, and the EU's, bid, the European Commission's bid to start producing vaccines in Africa. Will Ghana be the hub? That is the big question. Only time will tell. There is, on page 8, our struggle against galamsey is gaining the attention of Ghanaians in the UK. And, of course, today is African Union Day. On page 17, Jonathan Donko shares some thoughts from Dr. Vladimir Entry Danso. But before I get to the back page, the page I actually want to focus on by way of stories is page 3. It says, suspect in Cape Coast head teacher murder arrested. And in summary, the Central Regional Police has arrested a suspect in connection with the murder of Goman Ayifa, 40, head teacher at the Ansapatu Basic School near Ifutu in the Cape Coast metropolis. And that's according to Public Relations Officer of the Police, Deputy Superintendent of Police, Irene Opong, who confirmed the arrest. However, the police has declined to mention the name of the suspect for security reasons. We wait to see what happens in that respect. Now, a robber has been lynched and his accomplice has drowned in a lagoon. And here's the story. Here's what actually happened. A mob was lynching the suspected robber, and his alleged accomplice drowned in a nearby lagoon in his attempt to escape instant justice at Sakaman in the Greater Accra region. The suspected robbers had allegedly robbed a woman of her handbag using a pair of scissors, and that's what DSP Mrs. Ifya Tenge can confirm. 2 tidbits from page 3, and I am done. Now, another piece of, information that really excites me, or at least it makes me more curious. Murder of the Infantiman MP. Police await AG's advice. And the Assistant Superintendent of Police, Fuseini Yakubu, has told an Accra Circuit Court, when sitting resumed on Wednesday, that the police are waiting for the Attorney General's advice on the murdered Infantiman Member of Parliament, Ekokwansa Hayford. 8 persons have so far been arrested for their alleged involvement in the murder and robbery of Mr. Hayford. Why I am raising the issue is, of course, recently we've heard, the police establishment, the security establishment talking about the fact that they are going to ensure, including the IGP, that they are going to ensure that all of these murders, Ahmed Hussein Swale, JB Dankwedu, among others, that there is some resolution to them. Here's another one, the Infantiman MP, and at least now, I guess the buck stops at the doorstep of the Attorney General. Let's see what happens from here. The final bit, Mason gets 15 years for defiling 4-year-old girl. 48-year-old Mason at Odoko Tipa Junction has been sentenced to 15 years imprisonment. His name is Akwesi Yaboa. And I think fitting, 4-year-old girl. I mean, if you're crude, how crude can you be? Well, that's it for the Ghanaian Times newspaper.
Let's do the Daily Graphic newspaper on the front page. I guess a subject matter that we all tend to talk about when we are on the road sometimes, but sometimes you can shout and talk and talk and talk and nothing happens. I'm talking about dark streets, the fact that in most instances we've got the street lights, but they are just not functioning. The paper is putting a spotlight, and this is a very extensive report from around the country. They sent reporters on the ground to monitor the situation, so they're just highlighting. Authorities know already. So the paper is just reminding them of the places where there are non-functioning
I'm sure in most
and
of
there
these
are
places,
many parts.
we have streets. Not street lights. We have streets, but lights.
Oh, yeah. So they talk about some ceremonial places, just few, for instance, in Accra, but there are many parts of the capital that also doesn't have functioning street. You can add your area to it and you will not be wrong at all. So they talk about Sunyai, and Sunyai, they've got some 7-kilometer street stretching from the Sunyai Senior High School through the Cocoa House roundabout to the Fiapre roundabout. That place, they've got street lights, and I hear it's really beautiful. But if you go to other places, the lights are not functioning. So they mention suburbs such as Newtown, Area 1, Area 2, Area 3, Area 4. They've got street lights. Let's see the other places. Abesim, Fiapre, Odumase, Penkwase, among others, are bright in the night after the installation of the street light. However, in places such as Esufofo, the light poles broke down after their installation, thereby plunging the areas into darkness during the night. So maybe Sunyani is a bit lucky. Accra, not so lucky because there are lots of places. So Accra to Tema, the lights are functional only up to the Black Star Square. Once one approaches Osu, one is met with total darkness, which continues through to Lateshi, Nongwa, and even Tema, the industrial hub. They talk about Kanishi as well. Let me add my Pokwasi to it. Not where they're doing the construction, because when they are done, we know that there will be lots of light. But from Ofanko all the way through to Circle, hardly would you see the lights functioning. So just putting the spotlights on a situation that we're already very familiar with and hoping that authorities will fix it. Also on the front page, World Meets in Ghana Investment Forum fixed for 2022. And then the Securities Exchange Commission launches first master plan for capital market. And Cobra River regaining quality. When we come back to sharing the details, I'll tell you about Moses Doche Akrobato's visit and his report. On the back page, Malcolm Foundation support girls' menstrual hygiene. We've heard stories about how some girls are unable to go to school because of their period, and obviously because they don't have the necessary materials to help them still be in school and still be on their menses. There are some other people who also use unhygienic materials, so it's a good thing that Malcolm Foundation is stretching its hands and making a big donation to a foundation. It's a non-governmental organization, and it is called Touching the Lives of Girls Foundation International. So what they've given them, which is 100 cartons of sanitary pads, will be given to girls in the Volta region and in some parts of the Ashanti region, specifically in Obuasi, we're told. So good thing, Malcolm. We hope that other people will also follow. This sad story, which was in our news, tanker explodes, burns half of a village. Half of a village. A 2-year-old sadly passed. We're told some of the children, and I hope that we can get updates today where they would say that the children have been found, because, you know, when the thing happened, everybody was running. And there were these children who also ran in separate directions who were not found. One of those things that, you know, you don't imagine that it would happen. But yes, it happened.
After the atomic explosion, we told ourselves, I mean, following what had happened, I think there was a one around Trade Fair as well, you know, subsequent ones. And each time you hear of these explosions, it's always because it is so gory.
Yeah.
And the cost when it comes to life, I don't know, but we need more and more policies and policy implementation.
I don't know if this one had to do with a speeding vehicle who was maneuvering a curve.
Yes. But I'm saying that by and large, even with these vehicles that are even those who are carting petroleum products and all of that, sometimes the whole activity, you see them on the streets, and sometimes the recklessness, even how they drive, you know.
Yeah.
I have had one cross me so badly. You see what used to be the former Shangri-La Hotel. And this car was in a far inner lane, you know, and it was heading towards the Accra Mall. And it just came and, from that lane, came and just swooped through. Sometimes, I mean, it's so dangerous.
Yeah.
And that is what I mean. We can do a lot more to actually prevent some of these. But on the bit about the street lights, quickly, when I was speaking with Dr. Ayo Abudu, who shared his insight with us yesterday, he did mention that at some point, he wanted a street light. And old man, he went to his DCE, and he went there for about a year, and he realized that, Charlie, the street light, so he did it himself. I don't know, but how many people can do these things on their own?
There are many other Ghanaians who do it themselves, so he's just welcome to the group.
Ah, well. Well, let's quickly look at the Finder newspaper, and I'll focus on a few stories here. COVID-19, more than 100,000 received second jab in 5 days, and more than 100,000 people have received their second dose of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. As of Sunday, May 23rd, data from the Ghana Health Service has shown the exercise, which began on May 19, is expected to inoculate about 360,000 persons who received their first jab from March 1 to March 9 this year. I have got my jab. Have you? That's the question. If you haven't, do ensure you get it so all of us can stay safe, stay alive, and contribute to Mother Ghana. The next story I'll do is on page 13. And it has to do with something we'll be talking about later on the show today. More reforms needed at national security. That's according to the CDD, which is calling for more to be done in reforming the national security architecture in order for it to achieve its goals. Now, in a press statement reacting to moves by the ministry to revoke the secondment of Lieutenant Colonel Frank Ajiman of the Ghana Armed Forces and 3 officers of the Ghana Police Service for breach of standard operating procedures on the matter, the think tank said despite this being the first time the national security outfit was admitting to the inappropriateness of the actions of its operatives, the ministry's description of these actions as merely inappropriate does not send the right signal or deter officers of national security. Of course, now we've had the entire situation with the allegation, let me leave it at that for now, that Lieutenant Colonel Ajiman has been, taken back to the 64 Infantry Regiment, which he had command of, by the way, before his secondment to national security. Some say that is a pat on the back. Is it the case? I'll wrap with this one. Arsenal, well, 2 stories actually. Arsenal missing out on Europe is disappointing. That's according to Thomas Partey. Of course, his Arsenal did not make it to Europe. But it's interesting because he's actually a La Liga winner. He played about 3 matches for Atletico Madrid before his departure for Arsenal, which actually means, according to Balagé, that he is a winner. Yes, he has won with Atletico Madrid. That is some interesting news. I'll wrap up in sports with this one. Ronaldo, I'm talking about Cristiano, makes history as Serie A top goal scorer. And he's finished with 29 goals, and he actually won the Capo Cannoniere race for the first time. In total, he has scored 81 Serie A goals in 97 appearances. So that's it for the Finder newspaper.
Let's do the Daily Dispatch, the last one for me before we get into details of some of the stories on the front page of the Daily Dispatch. And this is what I will talk about. 5-2 contest for NPP national chairman slots. The Daily Dispatch is reporting that the 5th person who's joined the race is Presidential Advisor on Health, Dr. Insia Sari. The 4 others, Mr. Edward Boateng, who was Ghana's ambassador to China, Mr. Ishmael Ashite, the former Greater Accra Regional Minister, Professor Mayor Konfi, a former Minister of State and Member of Parliament, and Mr. Stephen Ntim, who will be making his 5th attempt to be elected for his position. And according to the story, Mr. Ntim failed back in 2018 because he did not have the support of the president. And so they're asking the question, or they say many are asking, if the president will support Mr. Ntim this time around. But some also say maybe not. Why? Because there's Mr. Boateng and Professor Ekumfi and Dr. Insia Asari. So that's, I guess,
Stephen
the projection.
Ntim is a very old dog when it comes to this contest. He's been there, but in a way, I feel a little sad for him within the party. He's contested and contested and contested, and each time it's always been, well, this close, yet not so close. Almost there, but he never gets there.
Okay, so that's it for the Daily Dispatch newspaper. They've got other headlines in the paper you can check out.
Well, let's check out the Daily Statesman now. And this story interests me a lot. NPP endorses excavator burning in Galamsey fight. And now, well, it's become an official policy, if you like. The governing New Patriotic Party says the burning of illegal mining equipment has become necessary to put an end to the act before it spirals out of control. Now, the Director of Communications of the party, Yalbabina Samwa, has been speaking and in a statement noted that though strong arguments had been made against the outright burning of illegal equipment near river bodies and forest reserves, the government has been compelled to resort to such radical measures to save the country. Mamavi, I just reflect briefly on this. I disagree. And while Galamsey is a big menace that ought to be addressed, what does this say? Does it mean the system does not trust itself? What does that say about the system? Of course, we've had excavators grow wings and fly to their owners when they shouldn't have had custody of them. We've had some of these supposedly cross our borders and be sold and all of that. But why not nip the situation in the bud, close the loopholes so that we can maintain these excavators? Now, mind you, when we burn them, we create even more of an environmental hazard. Now, how are you going to move these? How are you going to convey them? Where are you going to dispose of them? What happens to even the burnt excavators? These are the same excavators we could use for land reclamation, even as Galamsey takes its toll. There are so many things we could put them to use for. In other words, we're burning what could be resources to us, assets to us, making them liabilities. And in the end, for land reclamation and all of that, government is going to have to use our taxpayers' money to get new excavators. So, yes, I totally get the bit about Galamsey is a sore menace and we need to get rid of it. And maybe we don't trust ourselves, but I feel the same mistrust that we've created in the system is biting us because we could have made use of these excavators. But
I've heard these arguments, brilliant, but we're talking about reality here. We've seen them in the past.
The reality is we can
to the use that you know, the people who hold your view advocate. This is reality. We are in an emergency situation. If we have to take these drastic measures, I guess that's the way we go.
And the reality too is that we could actually frame policy so that none of these excavators will end up in a place that they shouldn't.
Do you know the number of policies we have, the brilliant ideas we have?
So, of course, that would be policy-backed with implementation.
How long have we been fighting, Galamsey?
What we are doing now with the military and all of that, it's a step in the implementation process. It's the same way we could implement this and make the most of a bad situation.
What I know is that we've heard people speak plenty, nice things. Nothing has happened. If this one is giving us results, let's do it. I want to do this in the Daily Guide newspaper. It's a radical idea that I have, but some of us also hold that view that they should go ahead. If the military is doing this and we're getting results, go for it. But on page 3 in the Daily Guide newspaper, these are prisoners in the 2nd D prison, and they took an action that I'm excited about. So first of all, you know that we give prisoners 1 cedi 80 pesos a day. That's their feeding fee for a day. And these prisoners woke up on Friday morning, that's last Friday morning, and decided that the food that they are being served and the general condition in that prison is not humane. It's really not cool. So they decided to take an action, boycott the food that was served that morning just to establish their displeasure. And yeah, they are in the news and we're talking about it. It's bringing us back to that subject. But the 2nd D prison, speaking through its PRO, also explains that, check this out, the prison was made for 400 inmates, but now they have 600. So it's way beyond them. They get the sentiment that's being expressed. They agree that the conditions are not the best. The food is not the best. But how do you reasonably give 1 cedi 80p to 600 persons in a facility like that. So good job by the prisoners by, taking that action to highlight, their predicament, if you like. Me and you, we could be prisoners someday. The fact that you go to prison doesn't mean that you've necessarily done what you're being accused of. Sometimes people are remanded and they're taken to prison whilst their case continue. You can be sentenced to prison by way of punishment. You never know who could land himself there. So we need to fix this. But the secondary prison is also making an appeal. While we talk about the big things in terms of the policy, they are also asking that if you can make donations to them, it could go a long way in helping resolve the matter. So that's the bit about the secondary, the prison inmates and the action that they took last Friday, highlighting the fact that 180p for food is not enough, and they're not getting quality food to eat whilst in prison.
I think you should imagine it. Even the cheapest biscuits out there, the very little things we buy for our kids, how much are they? So it gives you an idea what 1 CD, 80 pesos can do. Is that Operation Efiase, there was something, to aid them, where people were donating 1 CD and the rest. I don't know whether it's still active.
I'm not sure, project. Because this was under Pastor Wengam's leadership. I think he was on the board, right? So we have to go back and see if it's been continued. Yeah.
Well, these are moves, and I feel, any donations to them can be made because indeed they are in dire straits. Are you done with that?
With the dispatch, yes. Just one more on Galamsey, but you can go, I'll come back.
All right, so NPP worried about excessive scramble for MMDCE positions. I just bring that up because we were talking about it yesterday, and it appears the party itself is worried about the scramble that, looking at the positions and the number of people coming in, what exactly is it? Well, we'll see how it goes. In the end, though, it's just over 200 people who will get the slot. But I'm not going to ask this question because we all like money. But how much are you able to take risks, or how willing are you able to take risks?
These days, dear Charlie, I'm a big risk taker.
Especially when it comes to money.
Measured
risk taking.
Measured, yes, exactly. Okay. I'll calculate a lot.
So on page 8 of the Daily Statesman, we have less than 2% of female population involved in forex trading. And that's 15 million female population in Ghana is involved. That's less than 2% of them are involved in forex trading. But mostly, it's men who dominate in that sector. So I guess,
I'm not surprised.
When I read it, I was thinking, wow. So we like taking the risks. Musika, a woman and her money are rarely parted.
We think a lot. We need to picture what is likely to happen. Like, before you do it, it doesn't just happen. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into that Galamsey related.
Okay, so just wanted to say, and this is from the Daily Graphic newspaper, where the graphics Doche Kobla Akroboto went back to the Ankobra River, and he's reporting that, they are seeing some progress, and that, the water is running clearer a bit. So there's a little hope. And when the rains set in, according to his interactions, it would even get better. So there's some positive news out of Operation Halt. We're not excited yet. We're just, trying to measure where we are. But just this one, Ben, before you come in. This is the News One pullout from the Daily Guide newspaper. And there's a picture that I want to show you because Kwabna is denying being gay. And apparently a lot of people saw a certain picture and a wardrobe change, if you like, and that's why they arrived at the conclusion that he's gay. You will not appreciate this, but if you put the earlier picture there so that we'll see. So Kobna painted his nails, okay, and put this picture out. Quite a number of pictures, really. Can we take the so that's the painted nails there. And he says, people just looked at the picture and his style. There's another one. Can we get the other one so that we can see the style really well, where he's standing? That's it. And because of that, people think that he's gay because they say that he's posing and dressing like somebody who is. So he was on Hits FM on Monday, and he was saying, so people can actually look at a photo and out of it know what you do in your bedroom and arrive at the conclusion that you are gay, like seriously. So he's strongly denying that. He says that this is a new fashion trend for him. He likes it. The fact that he can paint his nails, that's like liberation for him. So he's in an excited place. Stop making guesses.
Okay, so that looks to me like, old school dressing and nothing more. I mean, it's a fashion statement. We see the Osibos and the rest dress whichever way they want. I think we're pretty, well, we've always been. We're all judgmental in certain ways, but I think sometimes we stretch it a bit. The fact that there are artists who paint their nails and all of that doesn't mean they are gay. So I really think that is something. But a bit of a sad one here that I skipped. Boy 9 drowns in abandoned pond at Keta. That one was, very sad. I think class 1. And his sandal, his slipper fell into the thing. He tried to get it in.
Abandoned pits.
And that was actually pond.
Oh.
Pond. So there was water in there. They were playing football, actually. So his slipper falls in. He tries to, and the others couldn't rescue him. They couldn't. So sad, very sad incident there.
Absolutely. Well, on that sad note, we're directing you to myjoyonline.com where we have plenty of some other stories as well. You can go there. But Mr. Nabila Abdullahi is standing by, looking straight into my face and wondering, will they get out so I can come and do my sports? Well, by the way, Hatterbook is still on top of the league table. Stay with us.
Hello, I am Muftau Nabila Ablai, and this is AM Sports on the AM Show. And it coming up later today or later this segment, the GFA is mooting an idea to reduce the number of clubs in the Division 1 League from 48 to 18 clubs. We had a conversation with the former Vice President of the Ghana Football Association, George Efriye, who believes that that idea is a wrong move. And also, we are building up to the UEFA Champions League final. We'll be having live commentary on Joy 99.7, and we'll be sharing with you our build-up to that very grand finale. And Pep Guardiola also hopes that he'll be making history with Manchester City by winning that title when they come up against Chelsea later this weekend. But first, let's start with the position of the former Vice President of the Ghana Football Association on the GFA's idea to put together what they call a reduction in the number of clubs in Division 1 from 48 to 18 clubs. According to him, a reduction in number will affect the size of Congress, and that will hand the future FA elections to the highest bidder.
48 Division 1 clubs to 18. I am strongly against it. Ask me why. You see, our country is divided in such a way that the 48 stars suits it now. In future, when we have the resources and big money coming in, sponsorship coming in, we will go for the 18 or 20 or 22. I don't have a problem. But currently, as things stand now, it is so difficult to ask a club from Wa to travel to Pandu without any sponsorship. How is the clubs going to run such a football team? It's very, very difficult. And Muftau, you see, FIFA, the old FIFA under Blatter, wanted a smaller number for our congresses. So in Blatter's era, they advocated that the countries must reduce the number of people who vote to choose their leaders and all that. Even in Nigeria, it's 40-something. But me, in Ghana, and I will make a strong case, I will write to FIFA and explain, me in Ghana, I am against it. You know, we shouldn't sit here and pretend. The kind of things that happen in our primaries, be it political, be it whatever, you know it. If you have a smaller number, it is so easy for people to buy all of them. I'm telling you. So me, anything that will reduce the size of Congress, I'm not for it. I am not for it.
Are you suggesting that oftentimes electorates are bought?
Muftau, I am saying that I had a friend who participated in I won't mention the party, in a recent primaries. And the guy was coming home with 2 TV, one left, one right. Cash, I won't mention it. Here, in Ghana. Don't pretend. We know. So I'm saying that in our election, you know the kind of things that came out that we had. So I'm saying anything that reduces the number, me, George Free, and I will write to FIFA and explain why the situation in our part of the world, that I don't go for a smaller number. Because once you go for a smaller number, you have just rendered the election to the highest bidder. I'm being honest and I'm saying it frankly.
Let's move on now and do something that has to do with the Ghana Olympic Committee President Ben Mensah. He believes that constant negative reportage about sports in the country has affected efforts of administrators to attract sponsors to support their activities. Speaking during a 2-year sponsorship agreement signed with Trillium Ghana, Ben noted negativity as a canker of Ghana sports.
There are 2 big problems in our sports today. One is lack of funding in our sports, and the second one is the negative branding of our sports. If we're able to address the second issue, it automatically solves the first problem, and that is the lack of funding. Our sports cannot develop only on the shoulders of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and then our Minister, Honorable Yusuf. It cannot. They need the support of corporate Ghana. In other words, they need the support of big brand owners like Trillium, like Toyota, like Ashford, so that they can develop our sports and create a future for our youth. How do we get that support from these big brands? It's only possible when they hear good things about our sports. Because if I'm the brands manager for a particular brand, there is no way I want to associate my brand with a negative brand. I want to hear good things about that brand. Then I can say, let me go and support that brand. So I am a bit worried about the too many negative branding that we're giving to our sports. There are over 95% good things happening in our sports. The only negative things, which most of them are human error or our own created negative news, is hurting money coming into our sports. It's hurting the development of our sports.
And let's do rugby now. Rugby Africa is worried about the current impasse within the leadership of the Ghana Rugby Football Union. They say that the suspension of Herbert Mensah is a major problem and that Rugby Africa is unhappy with what is currently happening in Ghana Rugby. Compliance manager Sakud Amenga Etogo has called on parties to dissolve their references. There's more in the following report put together by my colleague Asari Bidiaku.
Compliance is an audit unit within the Ghana Rugby Football Union with the core mandate of measuring good governance in accordance with global standards. The local rugby governing body is not only obliged to comply with its own internal governing processes, it also has to ensure compliance with international governing standards set out for the game. However, some board members of Ghana Rugby have refused to obey Africa Rugby rules by convening a meeting to suspend Herbert Mensah as Chief Executive Officer and Board Chairman of Ghana Rugby after a 9-point petition by the Ghana Rugby Union Players Association. Of the 4 people who were in the meeting, one of them, Intanyako, is not a board member of Ghana Rugby. The mandate of 2 board members has expired and therefore do not qualify to sit on the Ghana Rugby board. They are Ako Wilson, a representative of the Ghana Rugby Union Players Association Grouper, and Abdul Aziz Issa, president of the Greater Accra Rugby Association GARA. Compliance manager of Ghana Rugby, Sakut Emega Etigo, tells Joy Sports Africa Rugby is concerned about the recent developments in the local union.
Considering that Ghana has become like a beacon of hope for this game in West Africa in the past couple of years, it said that Ghana has now become a member of the Africa Rugby, has become a member of World Rugby within a very short period of time. And there's a tournament ahead in which they expect Ghana's participation. And all these things make them worry about the future of the game in Ghana. Okay? They expect that the standards are upheld. And so, yes, of course, they must be worried. yes, of course, I think about whether or not you can participate in the game.
Saku Temega Etigo also revealed to Joy Sports he has already warned the 4 persons about the consequences of their actions.
If people who really have Ghana Rugby at heart, who know very well the amount of investment that has been put into Ghana Rugby for the past couple of years to bring Ghana Rugby to this level. Before, Ghana Rugby didn't qualify for any competition anywhere, didn't play in Africa, even West Africa, anywhere. Now Ghana Rugby is playing, has won several tournaments, several laurels. You are speaking for players who refuse to accept what you are saying on their behalf. You are making all kinds of allegations, and you have no capacity or authority whatsoever to do what they are doing. You have to ask them, do they really think about Ghana Rugby?
Despite the leadership issues in Ghana Rugby, the national team are fine-tuning their preparations for this year's Rugby Africa Cup, which will come off in Kampala.
Thank you so much for staying with us, for joining the conversation. This is AM Talk, and we're discussing myriad matters with our guests. Robert Ahumka Lindsay is a former Deputy Trades Minister. He also is a member of the NPP's security team. He joins the conversation. Lawyer Kojogan Adawudu is a member of the NDC's legal team as well. We're also going to have join the conversation, especially as we delve into the matter of security, Professor Vladimir Mchidan, so international relations and security analyst, as well as Adam Bona, a security analyst. Let's start from here. I honestly would have started off with you two gentlemen, but thank you for coming. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Pleasure to be here.
I would have started off with you on the tangent of national security, but you just made mention of something topical, something that we can't run away from, and I would have us take bite-sized, attempts at reaching out on those matters. It has to do with the carnage on our roads, Mr. Ahumka Lindsay.
It is, first of all, good morning. Good to be here at JoyNews TV, here with your audience. The level of carnage, death on our roads, to me is a national crisis, truly. Over 1,000 people in the first 3 months directly. God knows how many are also affected. Families as a result of perhaps a breadwinner not being there. Mm-hmm. And I really believe we need to start looking at this thing with some vigor. Whether it is technology in terms of, we talked about this, I remember in the past, where we talked about having inhibitors in the vehicles that cannot go beyond a certain level.
Right.
I often
so they peg you at a certain level.
You can't go beyond. I believe some of these things we need to start looking at. I was coming from Kumawu over Sunday, and some of the vehicles overtaking me, I was frightened because they were full of people, and God forbid anything happened to them. Because of the nature of the vehicles, everybody would perish if there is an accident. And I believe this is something we really need to look at, especially when you know we have some challenges in parts of our roads. You have to be mindful of that. The other thing is the discipline of driving. Some of them, you call them racers because it seems they're in a rush to get from A to B without mindful of the people and the real responsibility they have on them when you have 15, 20, 40 people whose lives are in your hands. And you're driving as if you're on a Formula One motorway heading to I don't know where. But the level of death, it's simply, to me, unacceptable.
Right.
And we need to have a campaign, look at some of these issues, the vehicles, seat belts, technology to help us manage some of these things, further training, driver, making sure we have the right quality drivers, that particularly for the commercial. I think that is critical.
Okay, so drivers, what sorts of drivers do we have on our roads? That's something you're saying we ought to look at. Of course, pegging the speed limits, among others. Both of you are lawmakers, Lawyer Dawood, well, for you at least, but I, from the standpoint of the law, I would have put that to you because you have been a former lawmaker. What do you think? What else do you think we can do in terms of the law to ensure that we achieve the sort of results we do? Because we've spoken about this matter, and this year it's been particularly bad.
Terrible. The
first quarter, 1,034 people plus, those injured severely and all of that. Terrible.
I think let me say good morning to you and good morning to our viewers. This road accident thing, it's really a crisis. I would say it's a public health issue. And as you're saying from the legal point of view or the lawmaking, I think that the sanction regime is not effective. 2, one of the biggest problems we have as a people or a nation is the influence peddling. When there is indiscipline on the road and somebody has been arrested, the next thing you see is that he calls maybe his MP. The MP will call the police, oh, oyemeba, munshwe muna munjano. So what lesson is he learning? The next time he goes indiscipline on the road, the police are called. Instead of the police would also arrest and send him to court for sanctions, penal sanctions to be meted out to the person. They felt even when we take him, our superiors will leave them because there's influence peddling. I think when you look at the numbers, that should be one of the things we should be looking at. The other day I was making some suggestions as I was discussing that look, if we have the regime, sanction regime, where you are not sent to jail, when there's indiscipline, you don't wear your seat belt, you are arrested, they make you go and farm. The states will benefit from it. And when they make you farm for 3-6 months, I'm sure the next time when you come and you are driving, you'll be careful because you won't want to go through such experiences. I'm not saying that farming is not, because everybody is made. The moment you break the law, you are caught. And you see the number of people who reform.
Right.
It's really something that we need to do. Because if you look at the number of people dying, their dependents, where are we getting to? Almost every weekend, you have to attend funerals. It's either an accident, and the number of people dying through accident are more than even the COVID, the other sicknesses. Why should it be so? It's frightening. It's frightening. And you may be very defensive driving, somebody's careless on the road and wipe you away. They wipe you and the family away due to carelessness. And when the person calls, and you know, when the person is no more, the usual thing we do as society, we go to call the pastor or the paramount chief, they come to the family, oh, we are sorry, our son is sorry. And that's the end of it. That is the end of it. They buy coffin and dole out some stipends to you. And that ends the matter. It is something we need to take and look at it.
All right. So we need to take and look at it. I mean, this was not planned, so to speak, but as the two gentlemen who have joined me in the studio were actually discoursing on it right before we got on air, I felt it was something that at least we ought to touch on. And you hear them. They are affected by the carnage. They feel it. Let's all be responsible and stay alive. But let's quickly segue into something else that has become very problematic, and it has to do with the national security situation. In recent weeks, I think from the 11th day of this month, we had the sour incident that happened with Caleb Kuda, journalist with City FM, City TV. I'll start with you, Ahunka Lindsay. What is your quick reaction so far to the handling of the investigation? Now, this is the first time that we've had really, I mean, in a long time, the national security apparatus owning up in any way to say that, well, we feel some things were not done in the right way. But at the same time, we have a situation where national security is investigating itself, and we have a situation where, well, the secondment of Lieutenant Colonel Ajiman has been reversed, but we also have some officers, 3 of them, who are faceless. We do not know who they are. We do not know what punitive measures will follow. What is your quick reaction to this box of issues so far when it comes to the national security problem?
Well, I think, first of all, let me start by saying it's clear from the National Security Minister's statement that something happened to Caleb that was untoward. And in the society that we want to live in, that is just not acceptable in any form or manner. So let's just be clear on that. And for me, a couple of things are very important. First of all, I don't remember ever a national security minister issuing a statement as a result of something like this happening, not just to journalists, but to anybody. And the people being, and the statement is actually quite clear, and I think this is something we need to spend a little time on. States that you are being returned back to your original, your home, so to say, for them to process and investigate a little further. So I think that is a big plus. The second area, which I think is very important, is that we should also remember, and it's actually very interesting, I listened very carefully to all the dialogue of what had happened on that day, that it was actually somebody within the national security apparatus that ensured that both Caleb and the young lady, who was the other reporter, went back.
When you say went back?
Went back to City FM. If you recall, if you listen to Mr. Samen's account, he made it quite clear that he appealed to somebody within, I don't want to get into names, but somebody within that said, no, let me talk. And in fact, he was one of the key reasons why things went through. The reason why I said that is that, you know, if you harvest an orange, a whole orange, and 5 or 6 of them are bad, you don't throw all of the orange out. Because national security is there for all of us. Their role is very important, especially in the environment we're living in today. Just take a look at our region and find out what happened yesterday in Mali and other places. They play a very important role, and it's important that we hold them to account. The subsequent letter that came out, and I think everybody expected this to be business as usual. Nobody would say anything, but then, you know, the Honorable Kandapa came out, made a statement, moved them. Now where we are sitting, and I think is rightfully so, everybody wants to know, so what is now happening? And I think it's appropriate that question is asked. But in asking that question, I think what we need to be a little careful of is not to jump to the same conclusions that we jumped to when we said national security would never respond to anything in where they are. So for me, first of all, the whole episode is something that we don't want in our society, period. Not just for journalists, but for anybody. Some of us have had experiences on this thing in terms of where it is. My father went to jail first in '66, and until he died 2 years ago, the death sentence, which was put on him in 1981, was never withdrawn. So we've been through this situation. We don't want any of that kind of environment in our situation. We need to trust those institutions. And the other point I want to quickly say is that, to me, this will be a test of how it is we have evolved over the years in dealing with problems. And I think it's important we look at that. So what happened when the allegation was made? Was it listened to? Did people respond to them? When X what happened, what then happened? Was there punitive action? We're just talking about drivers. Not getting away sometimes with something they shouldn't be. So I think this will be a good way for us all to look at it and judge based on the actions, whether or not lessons have been learned, to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Very quick one. Do you feel the national security apparatus or setup investigating itself is something that ought to be looked at?
Well, every institution, whenever there's a problem, whether it's a police, whether it's even an organization, company, has a responsibility to investigate. But I don't believe this is the only thing that investigates. I do remember the National Media Commission is also doing investigation, isn't that correct? And there's a couple of others that are also engaged. So I believe that the national security and especially the army and the police will have a role to play in investigating as per their own mandate. But we also have the NMC, which has a very important role, and particularly in terms of what it does for the Media Commission, to also investigate. And it will be difficult for us to get to a judgment if we don't see the results of those investigations and whether or not those things are actually, whatever their recommendations are executed or implemented. And so I don't have an issue with institutions investigating, as long as the entity that is also charged with also making sure, like the NMC, in this case the NMC, it could have been Yoko, it could have been Shraj, there could have been other entities, but the NMC is the appropriate entity that is also being charged. And we look forward to seeing what their results will come in. But I don't think there is a problem with national security having an investigation. Right. I mean, that is appropriate. Even if you had an issue here in your group here, you have relationship laws, you have your HR policies that says that you have a fair hearing within it. Before you start looking outside, you have to also look within. Okay. So I don't have a challenge with that.
So as far as you're concerned, nothing wrong with national security, the ministry investigating itself, but at least you're hoping to see what happens with the NMC.
Investigating, as long as the agency that is charged with whoever is been wronged, in inverted commas, allegedly wrong, also is doing its role.
Okay.
To me, that is part and parcel of the process.
I'll return to you, Lawyer Adawudu, shortly, but let me also announce that we've been joined by Adam Bona, a security analyst. Mr. Bona, let me just say a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining the conversation.
Thank you. Good morning to your panelists. Good morning.
Great. And I'll just beg of you to hold on for me just briefly as I get the take of Lawyer Kojoga Adawudu, because I wanted to at least flow from what we've started discussing. So what is your reaction on the same matter in terms of national security and initiating an investigation into something that happened within the body, the 3 faceless officers, and then we'll get down to Lieutenant Colonel Ajiman subsequently. But what is your quick reaction?
Yeah, quick reaction is that I don't think that the national security can be a judge in their own cause, that they are investigating themselves. What I will agree with Honorable Ahunkanlisi is that if it's a disciplinary action that is being taken within the setup, yes, it's allowed that you give fair hearing to all of them, you set up a body. But that is different from investigating. When you're investigating, you allow other people to come in to investigate, independent people. But if it's a disciplinary action within the setup, I agree with him that everybody must be given a fair hearing. They must listen to all the parties, what actually happened. And I think that is the process that has been kicked in. But when you want to investigate and your officers who are, alleged or have been complicit in the matter, how do you investigate yourself? That is why I believe that with the disciplinary action that has been taken, that is why they have allowed Lieutenant Ajiman to return back to the military, back to barracks. The other faceless police people, we've been told that they should also get back to the Ghana Police Service to be reassigned. I see, yes, it's a good step that we have heard from the minister, but I see that's 1 step forward, 3 steps back.
How so?
Yes, 3 steps back because he said we'll come back to Lieutenant Ajiman. Because, listen, it's alleged, and I'm yet to find out to authenticate the letter. The day that the report came and he was asked to go back to barracks, that was the day he was promoted. He was made a commander of a unit.
But this is an office that, per the information we're getting, he was commander of the 64 Infantry Regiment before he was seconded to national security. So he's merely been sent back. Of course, you can call it a promotion if he's not, well, per your definition, depending on how you see it, maybe you think that's not punitive, but he was commander before he was seconded. That point must be made clear.
Yes. If he was commander, and there's a reason why he's been brought back, I'm sure when he left, there was a commander.
So you feel
there would never be a vacuum. So why do you take that commander out and bring him back as a commander?
Okay.
When really it is to say that what you have done is not in tune with the morals of society. You must be remorseful, you must be reflective and sober to see what had happened. But if the same institution is saying that, no, we will still put you at a pedestal, that gives you that influence, the command. Because it is to take that out, that you don't have that influence again, that you will go and reflect. But that's not what, it's a slap in the face.
Okay, you call it a slap in the face. I'll give you more time to discuss that, not only Lieutenant Colonel Ajiman, but even DSP Azugu and the entire situation surrounding him. But let me bring in Adam Bona now. Thank you so much, sir, for staying with us. Now, I've heard you speak very forcefully about this entire incident to do with City FM journalists Caleb Kuda and Zoe Abu Beidu. What had happened to them? We followed the sequence of events. What is your quick take on, first of all, how far we've come in terms of the process, the investigation, what the NMC has been saying, and then we'll quickly segue into something you've said a lot about, the Lieutenant Colonel Ajiman situation. So what's your brief take on how far we've come in terms of the investigation?
Well, good morning once again. My brief take on these investigations, I would say that, well, there's nothing wrong if the national security decides to trigger their own internal investigations process to ensure that they are well aware of, what took place, the officers involved and all that, and probably reporting back to the rest of Ghanaians. There is nothing wrong. At least this probably marks probably a shift from the status quo, where we usually would have that form of opacity, where you have some of these institutions that behave like a cult. If you are not in there, you don't get any information, and the way and manner they probably work. And so I would say, well, it's a shift from what we know, and I am believing that this particular action by the national security should be commended in terms of beginning to speak to us in the manner they did. The other aspect has to do with probably not giving us the entire picture, because if you listen to the victims who were brutalized, I mean your colleagues Caleb and Zoe Abubedu, they mentioned several other people who were involved. But unfortunately, the report was silent. They didn't mention them. And so to speak, you would say Lieutenant Colonel Ajiman, strangely, he's the only one whose name was mentioned in this particular report. I find that very strange. Either, someone is up to something, there could be a cover-up, I don't know, because you and I know that anyone who understands military and security operations, even though Colonel Ajiman his secondment would have been withdrawn, and we are hearing it's alleged that he's been sent to head the elite unit of the military, which is the 64 Infantry Unit. I would say that with regards to his international ratings, he's been damaged so much. With regards to even if it happens that he's going to head the elite units, it will be very difficult. You know that if you are a coach, your players play for you. First of all, they must play for you to win. And when you win, eventually everybody, owners of the football team, the supporters would all get to enjoy. But mine is that looking at it, how is he going to lead an elite team like this with his name battered? And so there are more questions to be asked of the national security.
If I may, he has led that team before, and the matter is still being investigated. Is it not only fair that if we are returning him to post where he came from, we return him to where he was before? I mean, that is an argument that has been made.
Well, I don't think so, because first of all, he has been indicted by the national security itself. I have heard that it is a promotion. I beg to differ. It is not a promotion. Either it's at the same level or probably even lower, because obviously if he was a director of national security operations and they were supposed to go co-opt the 64 Infantry to come and work with them, the 64 Infantry and the CEO, the then CEO, who I know is actually the reason why we have this situation is because he's going on some form of study leave. He's going on some for further studies. And so I think it's the reason why it is speculated everywhere that by the military high command would have to come out and confirm or deny. But the truth is that at the level he was at the national security, it meant that all other officers who were co-opted to come and work with the operational wing of the national security will be under his instructions. And so mine is that, first of all, he has been indicted. His name hasn't been cleared. So you tell me you are going to deploy him with combatants. These elite units are just combatant specialized in diffusing, you know, getting into hostage situation, getting into a lot of, anyone who knows the way these people are trained will tell you that you need his fighters, I mean, call them, these are soldiers, to believe 100% in him and would want to die for him. Before he was seconded to the national security, you know, he's been there not quite long. There was Colonel Opoku or so who left, who served his term and, you know, left before he came. He hasn't been there long enough. And so mine is that if he was there, he was the CEO for 64 and brought to national security, and his name indicted, his, you know, battered, and you send him there. Tell me if you at, what's the name? Multimedia, if your producer who used to produce you is moved to radio, and then you hear that he was involved in something, he's been indicted, then all of a sudden they bring him back. Well, you don't have a choice. But the truth is that only God will know what will be going on in your mind. And you are talking about soldiers who must have a certain frame of mind, believing that, first of all, if you know the way these people are trained, you take instructions directly from your commanding officer.
So Adam Bona, just to hit the nail on the head here, are you suggesting that he's lost the merit to lead that team? And so basically he can't be at national security. He's been, his secondment has been reversed. But even within the military setup, that regiment that he led, you're saying he doesn't have the moral compass to lead the team anymore until all of this is cleared. Is that what you're saying?
Correct, yes. You can ask any office, any retired, or you can ask the host, you can ask them, even our own, the good old Arnold Quinn, you can ask all these people. It is just one little thing, and it will even be difficult to ask to lead a certain team at the UN level, at the AU level, and, you know, probably at the ECOWAS level. So at our level, it will be, I mean, he's lost every trust, every moral, you know, college standing to be asked to lead such an elite team. I would have thought that whilst the investigations were ongoing, in his own interests, they should not have posted him to that team. I think that there is something that some of us don't understand, because you don't just mention him alone, his name, in a paper indicting him, and almost immediately sending him to head an elite team. And his name is, you know, everywhere. Soldiers are not supposed to be treated that way. Allow him, maybe you can give him some backroom work to be doing. When his name is cleared, wherever, even if you want him to be the CDS, you can let him be the CDS. But at the moment, whilst his name, if I ask you, how much do you know about our current CDS? You would have a lot of positive things to say about the current CDS, but you hardly would have so many negative things to say about him. He's human, there will be one or two.
Right.
And so mine is that as soldiers, these people, they revere their commanders. There are certain regimental structures they must always follow. So I think that whoever sent him there, whoever reappointed him to go there, has done him a lot more damage than those of us who understand these things will tell you they should have waited for him to be prosecuted or whatever, or for them to say, well, he's exonerated. Then at least everyone and his own forces would know that, well, our boss, he didn't do anything wrong.
All right. Quick one on DSP Azugu. Interestingly, his name is mentioned by the City FM journalist, but in this statement from National Security, we don't see his name pop up. It's interesting because with the short commission's report, we see their recommendations when it comes to DSP Azugu and how he is supposed to be moved from the position he was occupying. Unfortunately, we have his name come up here again. What do we do with that situation? Briefly.
There's a reason why I say there is some cover-up at the National Security. They have to be speaking to us, because at the moment, Ghanaians are not happy with the security situation in the country, especially looking at what national security is doing. First of all, DSP Azugu is a reason why I said there is something. DSP Azugu, his name was mentioned in the Emil Short Commission report. He himself was there during the brouhaha. He's supposed to, that wing of the national security, the operation should have been scrapped according to, the Emil Short Commission's report. But it hasn't been done. His name was mentioned as one of the people who led the team to beat Abuze, Caleb and the rest. Strangely enough, his name is once again missing. And so it's as if his name never came up. This is the reason why I think that the president, who happens to be the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces and the chairman of the National Security Council, should put his foot down and scrap the operational wing of the national security. We need the national security. We need them in fighting crime, cross-border crime, to fight piracy. We need them, but not the current national security with the operational wing, because they have outlived their usefulness. They terrorize Ghanaians and they do all manner of things, and I think that in the 21st century, if we begin to play the ostrich, it's just a matter of time. It will be our turn. They lock you up, and my good friend, lawyer Adaudu, would come there to try and get bail for you, and he might spend a whole week and he won't get you. In 21st century Ghana, I think that we can do better than we are doing.
Okay, to wrap with you, Mr. Bona, of course, I've heard you talk about Lieutenant Colonel Agyemang and say that practically he's finished, when it comes to the military establishment, especially if these accusations are concerned, that he doesn't have the right or the temerity, or maybe I should say the authority to take command of another such regiment and all of that. By way of punitive measures, what would you proffer for anybody? And I'm not just singling out Lieutenant Colonel Agyemang, DSP Azugu should any punitive measures be meted out to him, and maybe these three faceless officers who have been returned to the Ghana Police Service. What punitive measures do you feel will actually satisfy the generality of the people when it comes to what has happened?
Well, when you are dealing with the security services, it's usually very difficult because they have their own laid-down process. Everything is well spelled out. But I would have thought that, mentioning them by name, first of all, is punitive enough. But unfortunately, the police officers, their names haven't been mentioned. Colonel Agyemang, first of all, he has suffered the first most serious punitive measure, his name tattered, beaten. The second thing I would say should have been, if after the thorough investigation, because they are supposed to go back to their agency they came from to be for investigations to finish, even though I don't know how that would ever happen, would have been to say, well, if they are wrong, one of the things they do usually is to demote you. One of the things they do is that you stay at that rank for a while, because then if after 4 years you are supposed to move up rank, you stay there. They don't send you to a unit that you are going to be influential. And so I think these are punitive measures but as the national security said, if what they did according to the national security was criminal, because we all know that there is, there is an international convention against torture. If it is true that what they did amounted to some amount of brutality, then we just don't wishy-wash it to say that they should have been facing police investigations. And if they found them probably, they found them liable for prosecution in court, they are taken to a civilian court and prosecuted according to law. If the civilian court lets them go, then one will say that, well, their names have been cleared. But at the moment, as we say, it is free for all. And for me, I think that every day that the national security is not sanitized, all of us are at risk. It doesn't matter whether you are in government or you are in opposition, because there are a lot of people who are parading around purporting to be national security officers. And that is the most dangerous thing, because they could accost you and beat you up if they are not happy with you. And I think that shouldn't be happening, under our human rights lawyer, human rights activist lawyer president. They shouldn't be happening under him. He shouldn't be superintending over such a mess. I believe that as is outside the country, when it comes, the Christians are talking, Muslims are talking, well-meaning Ghanaians are talking. We are all up in arms against the rot at national security. Let's get it sanitized as quickly as possible.
Adam Bonner, thank you very much for engaging with us this morning. Security analyst Adam Bonner there. We're grateful for your time. Let me come back into the studio. I know you'd have some reactions to some of what he has said, so I'll give you that bite, and then we can talk about, very briefly, the final bit, about sanitizing national security. And we'll take it from the angle of, look, let's face it, we've had party elements in our security apparatus. Depending on which party is in power, there will be accusations from the other major party. If the NDC is in power, the MPP will accuse it. How do we deal with that? I've heard a top official, say in recent times that, well, it's part of... Are they barred from being part of national security? But national security is meant to be people of a certain elite level of thinking. They are trained in a certain way to fit a specific purpose for the country. So I'll start with you, Kalinzi.
Thank you for that. Let me come back, first of all, to the whole question of where we are in the comment made by Mr. Bonner and my fellow panelists here. I think we need to be careful. And I'm saying this and with a precursor that I started by saying that the alleged assault is unquestionably nothing we want in our society. Let's be clear on that. And clearly, the Minister of National Security has taken a very clear step for the first time, as I said, that I recall that has happened, and sent certain alleged people back to their original home, let's say. And the wording he used is very important. It's important for us to remember that, because I think sometimes we take that. First of all, Lieutenant Frank Agyeman, he says, report to the Chief of Defense Staff for further investigation and appropriate action. We don't know what investigation the Army is doing. We don't know if the Armed Forces Council have met. We've had no comment whatsoever from the Ghana Army about what's going on. So let's just be a little bit careful on our pronouncement, because the story is not finished. Because the letter that the minister wrote was very deliberate and very clear about where it is that action needs to be taken. It's clear. Further investigation and appropriate action.
I'll tell you, Mr. Kalinzi, why many people are skeptical about what further investigations will ensue. Because we've seen this time without number, barring this novelty of the ministry, the National Security Ministry, coming out to own up to some situation. We've had precedents where all of this, we've had commissions set up and nothing happened.
But the same thing we said about when the National Security said they were doing an investigation, nobody expected this letter to come out. But it did come out.
Okay.
And the point is that, and I started by saying is, how are we dealing with these problems as we're going forward? Are the institutions learning? Is the rule of law, because that's the only thing we can stand against at the end of the day, helping us? The second point I want to take is also on the police for further investigation and disciplinary action. That tells me there is a phase 2 to this we don't know yet. So let us be, I know that there's been no formal communication from the Ghana Army, none, or from the police. We also know that the Armed Forces Council have not met, and that is where any such decision will be taken. Those are facts. The police we haven't heard of. So what we should be now focusing on, for what I'm concerned is, we should be asking now the Ghana Armed Forces to give us a sense of what is happening, the police, what is happening. And also importantly...
So we should follow up.
We should follow, and importantly, NMC, National Media Commission's work. Because at the end of the day, these are internal investigations. The NMC is there for this particular area to engage with. Now, I want to come back quickly about this issue of how we reform it, in terms of whether people...
When you say it, you're referring to national security.
Right. And this question about, well, there are party people there, so it's a bad thing. You know, the reality
is it a good thing?
Well, let me develop my point. There are party people of both sides in every institution in this country. Here, there are party people from both sides. Doesn't necessarily mean you know them. This is a fact of life. But we must get to a situation where it's not the individual that focuses the institution, but the institution. I believe it was President Obama that said we don't need big men and women. He didn't say women, he said big men, but we need effective institutions.
Right.
If we start talking about institutions, your questions about professionalism, appropriate competencies, a skill set become more of a discussion than if every time we talk about it, oh, MPP is there, NDC is there, CPP is there. We lose train of it. Our focus should be, are these institutions fit for purpose? Do we have the right people there? And then the discussion is enriched. But the minute we try and turn it into a them versus us, we lose, the rationale goes out of the window. We start discussing and people naturally will start becoming very heated, very defensive. So let's talk about, is the institution appropriate? I am not in a situation where I believe the national security is a failed cause. It can't be. It cannot be a failed cause because without national security, colleagues, we will be in a very bad place as a country. So we can't say this is a failed institution. No, let's not go. We have challenges with that institution, and it's up to all of us to look at that, to engage with them.
Okay.
And it's very important we bear that in mind as we engage in that. Let us not conclude before we know what is happening. Issues about punitive action. The Ghana Armed Forces have their own processes. If we don't like it, we can have a discussion, but they have their processes and their punishment. The police have their own process and their punishment. Sometimes you can make an argument, yes, maybe they could have suspended them and done a discussion, but that's a discussion with the police or with the Ghana Armed Forces. But the fact of the matter is, the question we should be asking is, what is going on? What has happened to your investigation? The National Security Minister has sent them to you. What's happening? Okay. And before we have that, we should just temper our judgment a little bit before we do that. Once we have that, then we can all have a discussion on it.
Lawyer Dawudu, how do we sanitize the national security?
If I come there, I'll come quickly. But one lesson or two we should learn is that the power of the media. You know, when it happened, they said, yes, you can arrest and do it today, but we will continue every day in doing our work. So you see, they started reeling under pressure. And while citizens rose and were condemning what actually happened, that's resulted in what we have seen. So it tells you when citizens participate and they call a spade, this is what we see. I've always been telling my friends within the security agencies, I always say it's professionalism and competence. If I come to your institution and you tell me the law grants me 48 hours to arrest you and investigate. So when I come and you tell me this, why wouldn't I cooperate with you? And you say, look, within 30 minutes, if I finish with you, I'll let you go. But the overzealousness, you know, and everybody wants to show that I'm from national security, operatives. They are not professional. Professionalism.
I mean, ordinarily, people in such a setup wouldn't even want you to know that.
Wouldn't even want you to know that they are national security
intelligence officials ordinarily wouldn't be coming out letting you know I'm this or that.
I'm telling you, the first thing you can identify somebody from national security, he has a dark glasses, a bigger coat over him, he has some butter, and he says, I'm national security operative. But you see, that's where our best should be going. Because national security is about intelligence, it's about thinking, deep thinking. And that's not to say that we don't have fine gentlemen within the national security. I think it's the way we train and we bring them in. We are not giving that kind of training, the adequate training. And, you know, it's like when they go and terrorize, some superiors are happy. They go and terrorize them. So we have all these people, right? The level of education may not be up to scratch. They go, they terrorize people. See what happened to this UOP, the Ashanti Regional
Ayenso
Opariado. Listen, it was just a matter that, listen, a letter, we are not renewing your contract, move out of the office. It doesn't need people who have not even been to come and handcuff a former police commander. He was handcuffed. It all tells you that it was professionalism. You tell him, you know what, the law gives us power. You have to move out of office. If you don't move, we'll move you with force. So for me, it is about the training and the mindset that we will terrorize people when they hear that we are from national security. I always say, look, and they think that with the uniform, maybe the army uniform, the police, it will intimidate you. And they use that to intimidate you with blazing guns. I think that we need to look at how they are trained.
Okay. We've spoken about security matters. There's another burning issue, and I'm glad because both of you are very passionate about that discussion. What do you think? What do you make of how far we've come in the fight against Galamsey, this renewed effort, Operation Halt 2, briefly, and the burning of excavators? What is your take? Are you for or against?
So, in terms of how far we come, I am very sad that this Operation Halt is even needed. Seriously. And it's a crisis in the same manner we talked about the vehicles. Why? Because if you look at the images of what is happening to our water body, it is unbelievable. Unbelievable. We must put a halt to this, a hard stop, not even a slight stop. We need a hard stop. No further mining in any of the red zones as defined, which is basically around the water bodies, and ensure that nobody sets foot there. I don't know how long for. The scientists will help tell us in terms of where we are. In terms of excavators, let me be clear. What is an excavator doing in a water body area? If you find it there, you should burn all of them. All of them. If you don't have any business excavated there, my brother or sister, move your excavator away from there. But if they find them there, they should dispose of them. Because I think where we have reached today with the level of mining and what is happening to our water bodies, we have not seen the impact in what will happen to the health of people. Because these chemicals maintained in the water system goes in the underground system. And so in terms of where we've come, I'm sorry we are where we are, but where we are, we must put a stop. So we don't have this discussion 5 years from now. Right. And again, to specific to your question, if they find an excavator or any equipment that is in any form or manner looking like a mining operation in any of the red zones in the water bodies area, they should dispose of them.
Okay, Yawavina Samoa, communications director of your party, has actually made that categorical statement as well.
Yeah, for me, I think also that, yes, if the excavators in our waters have to be demobilized, and even if it is have to be bent, why not? We in this country, we have seen excavators that were seized, and they had wings and had flown away, right? It is because of the influence peddling. So if it is demobilized, and people have that, the issue is about the penal, how you've been punished. People feel it, right? And nobody would do that again. I always say sometimes to have justice, there must be injustice. From any state, and you look at it, that the law says that if it is taken, there should be this procedure. But whilst it is bent, it's been demobilized, that's an injustice. But through that, it is perfected so that we can have justice. I have been to some of the sites. I've been doing some cases, and if you see the holes filled with water, I nearly fell into one.
You nearly fell into a pit? I nearly fell.
Look.
A Galamsey pit?
Yes, because we had gone there. I went there to see. And, you know, it was patches of holes.
It's terrible.
Terrible. And even if you look at the water, you cry for the people. You cry and say, look, what are we doing to ourselves? What are we doing to ourselves? Yes, I know the same people that leadership is looking at moving. And they move, you know, sometimes they have to be rough, ruthless in doing this. But it's the same group of other people who are also engineering this. Why? We need to name and shame. We need to bring them out.
Okay.
But in the name of politics, it's becoming a Hydra problem because it comes back to how do we finance our political activity. These are the same people, they go and do and bring some stipends to the party. And the party says that, oh, he's our man. At the end of the day, we all keep a blind eye to it. It's an issue of how do we finance. Because you say, oh, give it to me, I'll bring some money to the party coffers. I don't think we need such money.
Okay.
I don't think we need such. As parties and society, at the end of the day, we will suffer for that. I don't think we need such blood money.
Okay.
Can I make just a small point?
So very brief, and
very quickly.
Go ahead with that.
Sustainability has been asked, and I think it's important we address that. That is why I was very interested, for instance, to hear that the Minerals Commission have made some fundamental changes. I don't know if you've picked that up. There is a major reorganization there because they have the job to engage that. So while this is a lightning rod to address the issue, we must also remember that when the soldiers leave, there must be sanity returned, and the agencies of government The same institutions we're talking about, similar to that, they must be equipped, have the right people and the right team to make sure we don't have this repeated. That's the only thing I want.
Your final comments in 30 seconds each, but I want you to devote those comments to today's AU Day.
Yes.
One thing we can use to better our institutions, governance institutions. You've already spoken about strong institutions per Barack Obama. 30 seconds each. What is that one thing you feel as a country we ought to be looking at to make our institutions better, stronger, even like national security? Lawyer Dawudu.
For me,
30 seconds.
Yeah, 30 seconds. The leader of the institution should be given a free hand to operate, devoid of influence and politics. If he's given a mandate, and this is the vision we want you to turn around the institution, and he knows can operate within the confines of the law, I'm sure people will give their best. Not when he's there and he knows that I can be recalled, I can be sacked any day, any other time. I think if we get that right, for some of our institutions, I'm sure we'll be able to do it.
Today is AU Day. At our independence, our president then said that the independence of Ghana meant nothing without the rest of Africa opening up. I think if there's one area that we can look at is the following. You know, Ghana started by having black people flying DC-10s. Actually, it was that time. You know, people didn't believe it was possible. So if there's one area I would ask us all to look at, when we find somebody, man or woman, irrespective of party affiliation, doing the right thing, let's support them. Let's support them wholeheartedly. Let's not try and snipe at the end. Let's really support them. And if you remember that in the end of the day, our future is only in our own hands, nobody's going to come and do it for us, then I think we are on the path to development.
Gentlemen, we're very grateful for your time with us this morning. We were joined by security analyst Adam Bona. We also had Robert Ahumka Lindsay, a former deputy trades minister, member of the MPP's security team. We're also joined by lawyer Kojoga Adawudu, who is a member of the NDC's legal team. They joined us for that conversation. Now, coming up next, we talk about the medical laboratory workers' strike. Patients are still stranded at the Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital, and there is the threat that this could escalate to other government or organizations or facilities, health facilities. Where do we go from here? That is our next conversation. Do stay with us on the AM Show.
Thanks to our guests on AM Talk. Now, let's talk about another matter confronting the nation now. Well, this is happening in Kumasi, but if we don't take care, it could explode. Now, the Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital chapter of the Ghana Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists, as you may know, have been on a sit-down strike since last week, protesting the posting of 2 medical specialists to the Laboratory Services Directorate of the facility. Calls by the Ministry of Health and management of the hospital for the scientists to resume work for dialogue to begin have yielded no results. Now, they say they will only go to the negotiation table with the management of the hospital when there is an assurance that their demands would be met. It's on the back of this that we're speaking to Dr. Dennis Jesse, who speaks for the Medical Laboratory Professional Workers Union. He joins us via Zoom. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you so much for your time. If you would kindly unmute. So we could, yes, good morning. Great. So are you still striking today?
Yes, for the chapter in Komfo Anokye, I would say yes. They are still on the sit-down strike. Yeah, so if you ask specifically on that, the Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital staff, the chapter for the Ghana Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists are on a sit-down strike, as they had indicated.
Okay, great. If this is an issue peculiar to Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital, why is there a threat that this could blow out and affect other facilities?
Well, so the thing is, we've always believed in the adage that whatever is confronting the practice of medical laboratory science and happening in Komfo Anokye should not just be seen as something happening in Konfanoche alone, especially when we have the cause to believe that it's rather feeding into an agenda, it's rather feeding into an objective that except doctors who have specialized from the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons are in charge of our laboratories all the way to the district levels, except doctors who have done that specialization at the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons are the people responsible for validating our results, except doctors from the Ghana College for Physicians and Surgeons are the people who will supervise medical laboratory scientists. If that is not done, our results cannot be trusted, our results cannot be used. And if you see some of these trainees and some of these products from the college, when in 2015 they were sent to Kolebu Teaching Hospital, knowing the agenda, they were resisted. It led to another protest, another strike action. Then you repeat same in Konfanoche Teaching Hospital for the past 2 years, and nobody is talking about it because the CEO is a superpower, is superior, he speaks and nobody can talk about it, and that is still is lingering on. Then we have a cause to concern that there is an attack on medical lab practice in Ghana, and we can't sit aloof just because it's in Konfanoche. This is affecting the entire practice of medical laboratory science. And that's why we made a call that whatever is happening in Konfanoche, if attention is not drawn to it, and the chief executive officer and his management are called to order to withdraw that appointment they have made in view of the fact that the situation is at the Labour Commission that we are looking into, we will advise ourselves. And it's quite unfortunate that we have allowed it to come this far. Konfanoche with a roadmap up to tomorrow, then don't be surprised to see the national scale where lab scientists will definitely also advise themselves on this same matter.
But Dr. Jesse, Konfanoche has explained that these two persons, for which reason your colleagues are protesting, or including yourself, because it's a local chapter from the mother group, these two persons are not in this particular department. They are not with the medical laboratory professionals necessarily. So is it that they are supervising the work of the the medical laboratory professionals from wherever they are? Is that the issue?
If your system will allow, you get it, I could share some things with you. Read in between the lines and let us know who is speaking the truth. Read in between the lines, and it will take only people who are short-sighted, who are not looking into the future, who cannot predict when somebody is trying to achieve an objective. In 2012, the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons came round to check Konfanoche to see if they can accredit the facility for them to train specialists in this same area from the college. When they came round, I have a copy of the report. And the report states that Konfanoche at that moment cannot be accredited for the fact that it was not a medic who was in charge of the hematology department. Fast forward, you go and train and bring these people into that same department. The very moment they have been brought in there amidst the protest, then you get the accreditation checklist from the college. We are now coming towards do the accreditation. And for that matter, the recommendations that had been given in 2012 is being satisfied, because now you have the medics over there. They are definitely going to be the people in charge. So accreditation is going to pass. So we don't have to be dumb for us to know that this thing is working to feed into a bigger agenda. And the agenda is that laboratory scientists will have to be supervised by medics. GMA is holding that same view. Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons also holding that same view. So if you remember very well, when this matter broke, and 2015, Kolebu Teaching Hospital went on a strike. 2016, on the matter of the policy, the National Health Laboratory Policy, the very reason why Ghana has been denied of a National Health Laboratory Policy since 2013 is the fact that College for Physicians and Surgeons are saying they are stakeholders in the health industry, and for that matter, for a policy like the National Health Lab Policy can only exist if we put in a policy statement that laboratory physicians are the ones to be the managers of our laboratories. those who are registered with the Ghana Medical and Dental Council. That alone excludes people like us. So it means that they are coming in with the mind of exclusivity. And now you bring those people in Komfanochi, the very thing that happened in Kolebu and brought about a strike. And you say that we should sit aloof.
Dr. Jesse, help us understand. I mean, this is a very technical area, so not all of us can easily appreciate the point that the two sides are making. So medical laboratory scientists and these medics you talk about, what's the difference in their works?
So, in simple terms, if you go to the hospital right now and you are to see a doctor, you go to take your card, go to the consulting room, and once you give the symptoms and everything and your history, the doctor will make a request and say that, oh, the way you are coughing and the way you are sweating and the itch you have and how you have explained the headache with probably the palpitations, your heartbeat and the rest and stuff, we suspect in this era it could be COVID. So kindly go to the lab, take a sample, run the COVID test. You bring us results back in the consulting room. The doctor will look at the results with the history and finalize by saying, oh, yes, it's confirmed, you have COVID. Then they now refer you through the processes for you to seek management. So these lab physicians in hematology, what is expected of them, they are largely going to manage people who have leukemia, people who have multiple myeloma, diseases or conditions that are cancerous. In fact, cancer condition, let's put it in simple terms. So the cancer patients are not coming to the lab. The cancer patients are supposed to be seen in the cancer clinic. For that matter, when they are in the cancer clinic and they go to consult over there, because they have specialized in that area, they will know certain specific tests that they will request. So just like the doctor would have requested for malaria and look at the level of your blood, these ones will also request for certain things like phone comment. For that matter, they will go into your bone, pick something from the bone marrow, and bring it to the lab for us to check whether the cancer they are seeing is coming from which line of the cells that are produced in the bone. So they will do a bone marrow aspirate. If it's about sickle cell patients, now Rage Hospital is having the capacity to do some gene therapy, gene replacement therapy. So that one too, they will look into it. They will bring it to the lab. The lab will do the necessary tests that will help confirm their suspicion.
Okay.
But here is the case. So that is how it would have happened, so that we will have that kind of separation of practice and everything, just like how all practice is like. But for these particular ones, their intention is that let's send them to the lab. They are part anything in the lab, they are counted as part of them. In fact, some of these ones in Komfanochi now are even doing phone comment. Instead of them to refer and the lab will rather do the comment and send them results, they are rather doing it and reporting on their own.
Okay, so
we
Dr. Jesse,
lady in Komfanochi who was doing that. They said they can't trust it unless you have what? MBCAB, which is the basic requirement for a doctor. So if you don't have that, you can't report slides for them to use. And that's why they are bringing these people to the lab to make them as part of the lab staff.
Okay, so the
staff list of the lab, these doctors are not part of them.
So the fear is that they are coming to take over the job of the medical laboratory scientists. Is that it?
Exactly the point, and to manage and supervise them and validate our results. So
okay,
if next time I'm doing malaria test for you, what will happen is that this lab physician will have to be there, and once I finish and I write the results, I will put it on her table. Madam, dear sir, I am done. Can you look at it and sign and let it go? It's exactly what they seek to do. And I have a document to show that when they met the IET committee, that is what the medical GMA is saying, Ghana College of Physicians are saying, that they need to supervise the labs.
Okay, I get it, but what is, apologies, and I'm asking only because I don't understand these things. What is fundamentally wrong with them validating what you've done?
What is fundamentally wrong? Let me use myself as an example. I have gone through medical lab technology program at KNUST, first degree. I've had my master's in infectious diseases. I got my PhD in immunology. And currently, I'm also a consultant, a fellow, West African Postgraduate College of Medical Laboratory Science. And you think by rational thinking, whatever level of experience for the past 15 years, I will need somebody when I have gone to check my machines, I have run my control, and you needed to know the level of blood of the people that you have referred to me. After I have gone through all my quality checks and quality processes, and I have done and I have reported, and I have brought it, I need another person who never went through the processes of generating the results to rather write on the report that this is okay, this is not okay, it's accepted, it cannot be accepted. Is that what we are saying? In any case, the doctor who requested, if he needs any further interpretation, why can't you sit with him and rather give him that education? Should it be that what I am doing, that you were never part of the processes, you rather want to come and sit and say it's good or it's not good? So if next time I give you wrong results because you didn't generate it, how do you know it's wrong?
Okay, so I
don't even go there at all.
Okay, so I appreciate the issues now. But what is the standard practice elsewhere?
The standard practice elsewhere is medical laboratory science, in UK in particular, when it's a protected title. In Ghana, it's equally a protected title under the regulations of Allied Health Professions Council. If you don't have the license to practice the trade, there is no way you can ever even go and carry yourself aside. And Ghana here is saying, if you carry yourself as an allied health practitioner, medical lab scientist, and you don't have that qualification, that license from the Allied Health Professions Council, you are creating an offense that is punishable by law. Go and check the offenses under Part 120.
Okay, another thing, Dr. Jesse. So is this being practiced at Kolebu, Tamale Teaching Hospital, the Accra Regional Hospital? Is this being practiced in these places?
Nowhere in Ghana is it practiced. I told you in 2015, they tried that in Kolebu Teaching Hospital. That brought up a strike. On your platform, I can show you a news item that gave that indication as well. So you carried it as well on your platform. So that was made, the attempt was made, it was resisted because it's a similar manner. And currently, I've told you the issue is even with the Ministry of Health and the Labour Commission when we are trying to resolve this impasse.
So why is the management of Komfo-Anokye not on the side of the medical laboratory scientists?
Oh, I don't think we need a seer to come and tell us this. Medics are all over. You hardly can touch them. You can't speak the truth to their face. They are seen as the thing gods of medical practice, and whatever they say should come to pass. And for that matter, even when matters concern them or does not concern them, they can equally come out and talk of what is illegal and what is not legal. So it's just as simple as that. The leaders and the managers of our health system have been so much afraid to speak the truth to the medics.
So yesterday,
they are the ones in charge. They are the managers.
So on Monday, Dr. Jesse, not to cut you, I listened to a management member of Komfo-Anokye who said that you guys are actually friends. I mean, you went to school together. In most instances, you sat in the same classroom. So there was going to be a conversation, an informal conversation to get you guys to come back to the table. How did that go, if it happened at all?
I don't think any informal communication has happened. What had come to my attention was that through the PRO, there was a call on the leadership of the chapter, but apparently they wanted a documentation to that effect, but I don't think they were interested in that. I don't see the need for that kind of info. What is the informal communication here? There is an issue at the Labour Commission. The impasse has not been resolved. Then a subordinate in this matter, a CEO under the Minister of Health, when he has not taken a resolution on a matter, he goes to do appointment for the past 2 years, and we are looking on. And you think that it doesn't suggest to us they support what is happening in Komfo-Anokye because it's about medics, because they are in charge everywhere.
There's also another reasoning, Dr. Jesse.
There's
also another reasoning that these appointments were, or the decision was made by the board. And so management cannot take a decision, cannot reverse a decision that the board took.
My dear, do you believe that? Do you believe that? Isn't it just one of the reasons somebody is giving for inefficiency and probably to call a bluff? So are they saying till a board is in place, Convanochi should collapse? Are they saying till a board is in place, if the board had made certain decisions that apparently was against the law, we should still allow it to sit and move on till another board comes to what? Rescind that decision? I think those who may want to agree with that could go ahead and agree with it. But for us, it only suggests to us that when it's about medics, when it's about the superpowers in the health industry, forget about it because nobody is going to speak on your behalf. And no wonder, this is the only chance and the only avenue that the lab scientists have chosen to dress home and drum home their grievances. Because all the way to the top, we could see clearly that no one is interested to talk about the matter. So because these are the people who have dared the ministry that if you deal with this manner, we are going to shut down the health industry. And they can do it. And because of that, nobody wants to talk about them.
So, Dr. Jesse,
we have to say only 2 people because of 2 people. Where were they? These people were in oncology. They went to internal medicine. Initially, before they went to school, they were at the blood bank. But there is another medic in all these areas, and they know they can't rise through the ranks and become the specialist they want to be. So let's go to the lab. This is the truth of the matter. Nobody wants to talk about it, and we are rather dilly-dally and a board and that and that.
These people at the center. These people at the center of the controversy. The reason why you're on the strike. How long have they been at this position?
For more than 2 years that they were posted to, I think since 2008, somewhere in August or November. And letters upon letters have been written seeking the listening ear of the CEO. He never minded anybody because they say that they are the appointing authority, they have the power, they could do what they do and assign where they desire. And no wonder the GMA came to support that the employer has the right to appoint them. So don't be surprised next time you go to Kompanochi Teaching Hospital and a cleaner will be in the consulting room because they have the right and appointing authorities they can put wherever they so desire. There are laws, for Christ's sake, that we all need to obey and just heed to.
So what is new today? Is there a scheduled meeting?
For today, I have not had any communication of a meeting, but in the news that colleagues have mentioned to me, there have been headlines indicating the National Labour Commission is suggesting somewhere next week they are going to call for a discussion on the matter. I'm yet to confirm from the Secretariat if that communication has been received. But as far as I'm concerned, until this discussion, I've not had any communication to the effect of something happening. So the status quo remains, and we will keep protecting the profession. We will never and ever remain subservient to people that seek to say that till they come to control. It's happening in radiology. You take an X-ray now, no matter the experience of the radiologist, you will still need a doctor to come and sign on it and give a comment on it before you can go and use that X-ray. How many are there for us to be even putting that priority ahead?
Just
we have to be serious as a country.
Just before we bring this conversation to a close, there are patients now who are now resorting to private medical labs so they can run their tests, which is costing them a lot more. But the point is, Kompanochi has put in place some kind of measure to mitigate the impacts of the strike. So would you say that you're making an impact with the strike? Is the hospital really feeling the absence of medical laboratory scientists? I guess is the question I'm asking.
Well, it is for the public to kind of judge. Already when we are in place, you have these same doctors referring cases to private facilities. They can tell you in the face, take it to this lab, go and do it there. And all. So it was happening already. But it's a matter of how many of them can pay. Is health insurance going to pay for these services? So if we think that is the easier way out to solve the problem, we are okay with it. And in fact, we are comfortable. There is no impact and patients are not suffering. So we can let that status remain and let's keep fighting. But if they think that is the solution, then we thank them. They have found a solution to the problem they think we have created. Let's watch from Thursday that the people at the various districts, the people at the various facilities across the nation, they'll get the private people to go and do that. In any case, the private facilities are part of our membership, the APML, and it will surprise you to know that these people are on standby, waiting for the call on the profession, for them to deliver. Because if we allow this to sit, you go and get a private laboratory and you need a lab physician to go and supervise that place. So for them they have to know that threat is coming to the practice of their trade. And if we will sit down and allow this, that the few doctors we have around, that they are not even enough. A doctor-patient ratio almost 1 to 10,000, about 15,000. And we think that the priority is where the professionals are already developed, like the lab for that matter, as I cited. Let's rather get more consultants to go and add to them, go and manage them, go and supervise them. How far can we do that as a nation? We have to spend our resources in that manner.
Dr. Dennis Ajayi, we will continue to monitor this situation and where it develops to, but we appreciate your time on this conversation. Dr. Dennis Ajayi speaks for the medical laboratory professional workers. We know the Untitled chapter for now is on a sit-down strike, and they're threatening, they're asking us to watch the space by Thursday. If their concerns are not addressed, they're going to blow that out and expand it to the entire country. Hopefully, it doesn't come to that. Well, from Konfuanoche matters, let's talk about the National Science and Maths Quiz 2021 edition. Volta and Ashanti regions in focus. Maxwell Agbagwa joins us from Hope. Maxwell, good morning.
Yeah. Good morning, Mama V.
Okay.
Yes, Mama V.
Yeah, Maxwell.
So we're coming all the way. We're coming to you all the.
No, I was just going to ask you what's happening in Ho, but go ahead.
Okay, so the competition here in Ho, the regional qualifiers actually started yesterday. Today is day 2. We had Bueman SHS and 3 others qualifying to the 2021 National Championship sometime in October. Now, in the course of the week, we're going to have the Volta OT Regional Championship, as well here in the Volta region. But we have with us a rep from Prime Time, the organizers for the National Science and Maths Quiz, Mr. Samuel Ajo. He's here with us. He's going to break it down, for us. Mr. Ajo, so we're in Greater Accra region, we moved to Central region, moved to Western region, and then now in the Volta region. Yes. Can you tell us what is going to happen here in the Volta region?
Well, thank you. I want to believe that considering what we experienced in the regions that you just mentioned, we're hoping to experience same here in the Volta region with the OT and Volta regional qualifiers. As you mentioned earlier, we had the OT regional qualifiers yesterday, where we had 4 schools qualifying. 4 schools qualifying for the Absa Bank Volta and OT regional zonal championship, which is going to come off on the 28th and 29th of May. Now, from today, we are going to have it's the 10 of the Volta region, where we'll have 12 contests to select another 12 winners to join the 4 from OT. And then in addition to the 2 already seeded schools, that's Ola SHS and Keta SHTS, they together would consider the schools that would compete at the Absa Bank Zonal Championship come 28th and 29th of May. So from indications yesterday, well, OT wasn't too as impressive as we were all expecting, but then we want to believe that it's a region that is young and therefore they are coming up. So gradually they'll pick up the mantle and then be able to show stuff. But we want to see that from today, for the Volta regional qualifiers, we have schools who are quite seasonal and therefore well known in the competition. Therefore, we expect to see some good stuff. Bishop Herman College, Zion College, Mauli School, Fuega and Daklu and Vakpo, who some time ago had formed 2 causing the stare, but qualifying for the national championship 2 years ago. So
my favorite, Sunrise SHS.
Sunrise, yes, who have been quite consistent qualifying for the national championship all this while for the past 3 years. So perhaps what would witness the Volta might be slightly different from what we saw from the OT region, and so we expect something great, something interesting from the Volta region as well.
Okay, so these are the regional qualifiers, and they're expected to end Wednesday?
So the regional qualifiers will end on Wednesday. Okay. So it will end on Thursday, that's 27th of May. Okay. And then we'll have the Absa Bank Zonal Championship on 28th of May and then 29th of May. Okay. Then that's when it went.
So far, we've seen Presec Legon emerge as Greater Accra regional champions. We've seen Infansipim School also emerge as Central regional champions. We've seen Archbishop Potter Girls as Western zonal champions. Now we're in the Volta region. We want to see the school that will emerge as Volta OT zonal, champions. Any predictions? We know Katasco. They've always asserted their dominance at the national level. Mauli School, Bishop Herman, they usually qualify for the national, but when they get there, I mean, any predictions?
Well,
the championship.
At this point, this is the first time we are going to organize something like this in this region. We're going to do that last year, but unfortunately, COVID derailed the activity. So it's going to be it's the first time, and so there's expectations quite high from all the schools because they were looking forward to it last year and it didn't come off. And this year, the opportunity is there, and so at this point, it'll be difficult to really predict. I don't know what Bishop Herman, like you mentioned, Anglon, Mauli, and the others. I don't know what they have up their sleeve. And of course, we have Ola SHS and Keta SHCS who have been quite consistent, especially Keta SHCS. So it's going to be kind of difficult to really predict. At this point, it will really be very difficult to predict who is going to win. If we had the competition maybe last year, it would have been an opportunity to really assess them at that level, at the zonal championship level. But for the qualifiers, yes, you can do that kind of prediction. But at the zonal level now, it will be difficult. It's an open opportunity or chance for each of the schools who would compete at that level to make it.
Okay, sure. Thanks very much for talking to us.
Thank you.
Okay, so you just heard from Mr. Samuel Ajo. He's with Primetime Limited, organizers of the National Science and Maths Quiz. I mean, yesterday we got the competition started yesterday. The conversation has been, about whether a Volta region school or an OT-based school will win, the National Science and Maths Quiz for the very first time. We know that no school from the Volta and OT regions, no school so far has won, the National Science and Maths Quiz National Championship. And this year, the conversation has been about, it is about that time that a school from this region actually, goes all the way to win the National Championship. So that's what we are all waiting for, to see what will happen this week. And then in October, we get it all, started at the national level, Mama V.
What time would the competition begin today? What time?
Well, it should start at exactly 9 o'clock. 9:15 we should start with the contest for the day. We have 4 contests. The first contest is Adidome SHS, Ave SHS, Aveime Bato SATS, and then Alavanyo Senior High School. The first contest for the day. All right,
Maxwell, where exactly in Ho are you? Have you visited the Banku joint already? Because I know some Banku must go down before the contest begins. Oh, Mama, I had my Ewakbala and Abobitadi right here in the hotel yesterday. I didn't have to go out to get it. I got it right here. 1 hour after I arrived, I got it. Ewakbala and Abobitadi. And that's the same thing I'm doing for lunch, Mamavi. Okay, so it's Echokmala today before the competition, I guess. Well, Maxwell Agbagba, and you can get him only with Akpala anytime, any day. He's reporting for us on the 2021 National Science and Maths Quiz in Ho. Now, from Ho in the Volta region, let's go to the Ashanti region, where Efwa Kobi Ampem Girls Senior High School became the second all-female school from the region to book a spot at the national tournament in October. St. Louis girls set the pace on Saturday by picking the final riddle in their contest to beat Tepa Senior High, which was closely trailing them. Manuel Kranting has a wrap on that.
Yeah, so a dramatic win for the girls from Efwakobi Ampim Senior High School. It took the last riddle for them to be assured of a spot in the 2021 national tournament slated for later in October. They came up against really a worthy opponent in Adamase Senior High School. Ladies, how does it feel to have won a competition? Well, I share your joy. Congratulations. How does it feel? You on stage. You answered the final riddle. What was going through your mind before that?
Like, we say thanks be to God because we almost lost hope. Thanks be to God. We have nothing else to say. All glory be to God.
It was in the final round. They came really close. In fact, Quizmaster sort of gave them some sort of hope in the third riddle when they answered it. When he said, it was almost like it was correct. How are you feeling? You thought you had ended.
We knew that we were supposed to be the winner, so we didn't panic. But for the last riddle, you see, he imparted some fear in us, but by God's grace, we will be able to see through.
So you're scared?
Very.
Your teachers almost ran away.
Yeah, they almost ran away. They will leave us here. We will walk to the school. Yes.
Your teachers are going to leave you here.
They told us that when we lose, they will leave us here so that we come there alone.
Eventually, now you're not going to walk to your school.
We are going to the mall too because that's the promise that they promised that when we win, they will take us to the mall to enjoy.
You're going to enjoy it. Yeah. All right, there's a bigger one that's coming up. There's a regional championship and then also the national competition. What should we expect from you?
Okay. Well, all that we are saying is that look forward for the better performance of us. Even this one, it was some little things, but next, look out for the best performance from us.
Okay, what about you?
Yeah, as we've prayed to God, God has also answered our prayers, even with the qualifications. And we know that with the champions of champions, as we've prayed to God for so long, He's going to see us through.
Okay, I hope to see that. And you answered the final question. You really were the David of the moment, eventually slaying the Goliath of Adamasi. Tell me, what should we expect from you?
Nothing but the best. We are coming with more of them. Yes.
Okay, so are you taking me with you to the mall or? So the girls from Efua Kobe Ampem Senior High School just speaking to me about this particular win. They've secured the 5th spot out of 20 that have been reserved for the Ashanti region. We're coming back to you with more and more of the details of contest from here. My name is Manuel Kranting.
Okay, so congratulations to the girls. We hope that we up all the way to October and we'll continue yobbing and topping the boys. Okay.
We'll separate the men from the boys, the women from the girls at the right time when it gets to the national championship. They're all those toboy and the pa. People go see them as smoothness.
We're not doing toboy, but it's the girls all the way. We're rooting for them. Even the guys are rooting for the ladies this year on the National Science and Maths.
Most definitely. I mean, any school with a girls setup, especially those who have never qualified. Of course, I want many of the underdogs to get in.
Girl power.
Most definitely.
Okay, well, on that girl power note, we want to wrap up the show, but not before saying happy birthday to Alicia Brown, is from Oba, one of our team members, and Samuel. And the message is simply, God bless you, enjoy your birthday today.